I think you need to have yourself checked out neurologically.
Why, Dr. Phil? Are you serious? After everything that I just got through telling you,
You gotta let me
need me to
finish.
get checked out?
What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to Grim. Today we're meeting with a 28-year-old who his parents say has gone off the rails completely, and I think that's a fair thing to say. We're gonna meet him in a little bit, and all the things that he says about himself just proves how delusional he is in the current state. There's actually an insane ending to this one, so make sure you keep watching to see if he can get some help today. But without further ado, let's hear from his parents and see what they think is going on.
DJ's delusional, and he has an alternate reality that for him is reality.
So from his own father's point of view, this guy is just completely disengaged with reality. And before we move on, I am gonna say it's very clear that the person in this video is going through some hard times. This guy is not operating on a normal brain level, and he is totally disconnected from reality. So I hope that you guys can remain civil in the comments and know that I'm not making fun of him in any way for going through this torment. I just thought this was an interesting video, and like I said, the ending is nuts. He actually tries to refuse care from Dr. Phil. I'll spoil it for you a little bit there, but let's move on and see what kind of stuff he claims about himself to see if you guys think that he's insane as well.
He thinks he's engaged to Rihanna, writes music for Jay-Z, Beyonce, Drake, greatest music producer worldwide.
Okay, so like I said, it's pretty clear to tell that this person is not grounded with reality. The first 2 points here is that he's engaged to Rihanna, which can easily be, proved as false because Rihanna has never met this man, nor is she engaged to anyone currently. And he says he writes music with Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Drake. I mean, we all knew Drake had ghostwriters thanks to Pusha T, but I really don't think he's making this generation's greatest hits. He's just some random guy who is kind of off of his rocker. But he claims that he's the greatest music producer worldwide, and we just haven't heard of him.
Richest and most powerful man in the world. $700 billion fortune coming his way. God's experimenting with him.
So they don't really go into why he's expecting the $700 billion to be coming his way, but apparently it's just something that's going to be handed to him at some point. I wish I could accept that. I would take, honestly, a cool $1 billion even, or hey, I would take $1,000 at this point. That's a fortune to me. So I don't know where he's going to get this massive amount of money that could honestly be the total value of an entire country, I'm assuming. But it's probably because he's the richest and most powerful man in the world, and of course we wouldn't know who that is. So I'm glad he's coming out and showing us all that he is that guy.
That he won the Best New Artist at the BET Music Awards in 2017. Owns a mansion, has children.
So again, a lot of these are totally easy to prove. You can just look up who won Best New Artist at the BET Music Awards 2017. It's not this guy, I don't think. He says that his image is used in music videos, film, and fashion, and that pretty much everything that they make nowadays is based on his image. You can see in the bottom left there, fashion design is based completely on his image. We're all trying to look like him. Everyone watches him. And this is just totally screaming to me, someone that has, again, become detached from reality and is thinking that everything is revolving around him. And it's almost like he's just sitting in his room thinking of a new delusion every day that he can add to this list. It's really sad to see that he's being tormented by all these thoughts. I'm sure it's very stressful in his world where he thinks that he is this important person, and maybe that's causing him to snap further.
I know what you and Dad are doing. He's paranoid. We have every policeman in the town where he was residing in college. Everybody's after me. And you and Dad set this up, and I was so disturbed.
So according to the mother, this guy was totally normal, attending college at the age of 25, out of state or at least away from where they live. And when she talked to him one day, even though she had just spoken to him 2 days earlier and he seemed totally normal, he immediately started getting paranoid and freaking out and thought that his parents somehow got all the cops in his town where he went to school to be monitoring him and following him, which again sounds like a total paranoid delusion. And I wonder if we're gonna find out what exactly went down that caused him to just kind of flip the switch one day. And I'm really no expert, but I do think stuff like this can just happen in your 20s. A lot of people who are schizophrenic might not find out until they're in their 20s, I believe. So that could very well be a possibility. But it's sad to see that this even happened in the first place. So we're finally gonna put a face to the guy who's making all these claims and hear his side of the story. Let's just hear what he says about himself.
I would like to think that if I'm not engaged, I am in love with a beautiful woman that I believe loves me back unconditionally, and I am ready to receive the love that she has to offer me.
So he kind of backpedals here. He says, you know what, I might not specifically be engaged to Rihanna, but me and her do share a very special bond and a certain amount of love that she does reciprocate to me. You'll see soon that the entire time this guy talks, it's very frazzled and kind of goes back and forth between topics, as if he's very preoccupied with something else and in a manic state right now on stage. I'm sure Dr. Phil's asking him about some of these lies that he's made up to see if he still believes them, because who knows, maybe he's snapped out of certain ones and has gotten new delusions since then. But it sounds like when it comes to Rihanna, he still does think that he's in love with her and she loves him back.
Does it seem like I'm delusional, or does it seem like they're delusional? My, physical health and my well-being is in jeopardy because somebody seems to think that I have a problem.
So the guy starts to get a little bit defensive after he asks Dr. Phil who he thinks is crazier, his parents or him, and just the fact that he even asked that and thought that that was a normal thing to ask is kind of showing just how out of touch he is. I don't think anyone's trying to claim that he's totally insane, and Dr. Phil is talking to him in a very respectful way. You could tell when he talks to people like this that he really cares about the situation and is trying to go about this delicately because he knows that this guy is in a very frantic state where at the flip of a switch he could pop off and get angry or, storm off the stage or something. But really, it's not about whether or not you're crazy, it's just the fact that you are experiencing some things that are troubling and think these grandiose lies, and your parents are worried about you. That's all it is, man. They just want you to get some help and understand that not everything is right in your head right now. That's all this is.
I think you need to have yourself checked out neurologically.
Why, Dr. Phil? Are you serious after everything that I just got through telling you?
So he pops off again at Dr. Phil and gets angry for him even bringing up the idea of him going to treatment, which I think is obviously the best course of action right now. This guy clearly cannot be going about this on his own. He has not gotten better. If anything, he's gotten worse, and some professional help from Dr. Phil is the main thing that he needs. But obviously, he's going to get defensive about that because in his eyes, this stuff is all true and everyone else is crazy. So I'm sure that's frustrating that Dr. Phil's even offering this, but dude, just please accept.
What is you talking about? Because you saying crazy stuff.
Yeah, you got to be quiet and let him finish.
You got to let me finish.
Go ahead.
Are you capable of actually letting him finish?
And
Yeah, Dr. Phil's saying the crazy stuff. Look, he's not the one claiming he's married to Rihanna or has a $700 billion fortune headed his way. He is a professional in this field that you need some desperate help in, and I would really listen to what he has to say. I'm glad the dad kind of, put him in his place. Not really, but is just telling him, just stop talking, let Dr. Phil finish his thoughts. He's really trying to help you out right now, okay?
these are folks that I've worked with for 10, 15 years. They're from a place called Creative Care in Malibu.
So he wants to send him out to this creative care facility out in Malibu, which I've heard is kind of like the nicer version of the ranch that he sends to people who need true help that are also not really being troublesome. It's just a really nice care facility. So I, again, really hope that this guy considers it. But like I said, after the taping, he actually has some issues. We're going to get into that later. Don't worry. I'm just glad Dr. Phil is even offering it to this guy because he desperately needs it. And if he doesn't accept this, I just see things getting so much worse in the future for his family, and that is so sad.
This is not some psych ward. These are folks that specialize in really focusing on an individual.
And I'm glad Dr. Phil is explaining himself and just not making this guy feel like he's being sent away to a psych ward, because that's not what it is. A lot of people have trouble getting mental health because they see it as a loss, but in my opinion, it's a win. If you go out there and you admit to yourself, hey, I'm having troubles, I'm gonna have a professional help me sort this out, that's the best move you can possibly do. And you're not an insane person just because you go to a care place like this. I wanna be totally upfront about that, and if you think that way, you're just wrong. This guy's hurting and Dr. Phil is offering him some solid help. You love to see it.
Dr. Phil, you're nervous because you know that you're in the wrong right now. I see your hand shaking.
So he calls out Dr. Phil for having shaky hands, which I don't know if you know this, dude. Dr. Phil's a little bit old, and that's what old people do, they shake. But regardless, he's not on the wrong side of this, and it's annoying to see how defensive this guy is getting. But of course, when someone's in that state, that's gonna be their first reaction to this. Getting help is not something that they even think of doing because in their eyes, they don't need it. They're the normal person. He's just waiting that $700 billion to come his way, and then he can fly to somewhere foreign and forget about his family that's trying to run tests on him, like he says. But what's really funny is after he talks trash about Dr. Phil shaking while putting down his water, claiming that he was nervous about being on the wrong side of this issue and that's why he's shaking, Dr. Phil then, very deliberately, drinks his water without shaking his hand. It's just hilarious to see his attitude that he kind of gets when people step to him. I've always thought that's very comedic. So in the end, he does accept before walking off stage to go to this treatment facility, which is all good. But as we all know, things can change once we go behind the scenes and Dr. Phil steps off that stage. Sometimes people are just saying what he wants to hear and what the family wants to hear so that they can get it over with, because I'm sure it's not fun being the target of one of these pieces on Dr. Phil's show. It's probably very stressful and you just want to get out of that situation. But backstage, he actually changes his mind, and claims that if he goes here, it will suppress his creativity or taint it, as he says, which again, totally just sounds like the words of a crazy person. But thankfully, they have some real professionals that are working with Dr. Phil that were able to settle him down and finally convince him to hop into that van. So I did kind of play you guys there. He does end up going, but he put up a serious fight. I mean, this video is like a minute long of him just going off about how he doesn't want to stifle his creativity, which that will not happen, dude. If anything, if you have a clearer head, you will be more creative, I guarantee it. So I really hope this guy has had a good time since recovering from this and has been able to kind of balance out his mind and his life. Guys, let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Quite a wholesome one when you think about it. I'm glad this guy got help. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace out.